Hi, Dex9Sauce here. This video will be a somewhat different style video from what I usually upload, which is like challenge runs and speed kills. I want to document and explain some of the cool stuff this community has achieved since 9Sauce has been released since 2024. Mainly I want to talk about and show off the history of Level 0 Eigong. What is Level 0 Eigong? Well, back when the game first released back in 2024, Level 0 Eigong was a popular challenge created by Kaito Majima that takes Yi straight from the start of the game and puts him straight at the final boss, which is True Eigong. At the time it was considered 9Sauce's hardest boss challenge since it took one of indie gaming's hardest bosses and turned it into a 20-minute endurance fight without the abilities that were once thought necessary for the fight, such as air dash. It all started when Kaito created a file for pure Level 1 Eigong, which we now just call Level 0. Back when it was first created, there was a major obstacle the community had to overcome and fairycraft to make the fight possible. The major obstacle was one attack in the third phase, which was called Crimson Judgment Cut. She could not parry the attack without a major risk of taking damage. At first it was thought to be impossible to avoid, but some silly fairycrafting was done and the attack was proven to be dodgeable. If you did a well-timed talisman after parrying the attack, it was possible to dodge the Crimson Slashes. But the strategy was not consistent due to the fact if you talismaned towards the Crimson Slash you would get hit. And at this time, I think it was assumed to be RNG or something, or I don't know. You might be thinking, can't you just dash through it? You think the community didn't try that? Oh wait, it's possible. It's just an extremely tight dash. You need to dash at the exact moment you see the white smear over Yi, or the dash would be too early and you'd get hit. Finally, with Level 0 Eigong solved, the one who created the challenge himself, Kaito Majima, was the first to beat the boss. The whole run clocked in at over 20 minutes. The run was extremely slow, unoptimized, and purely focused on survivability. But that's to be expected since it was the first clear. In the next few days, the second victor would clear the challenge and they went by the name Twef. The run wasn't much faster, and not any new strategies were implemented as far as I could tell, but a clear's a clear. The next person who cleared the boss would play a little differently, which was me, Dex. I managed to shave off almost 3 whole minutes of the boss on my clear just by playing more aggressive. It's funny because I remember trying to play passive on that run and being surprised it was actually that much faster. In the next few months, a few more people beat the challenge, including Adorn, which very impressively almost completed his first clear as a hitless run. And then later on, he would even go on to beat the boss damageless. To be honest, the base challenge was hard, but compared to other video game challenge runs like any Radiance, it was nothing. The only hard part about it was the length and the amount of heals you had. But I mean, it was the only challenge boss we really had around that time because 9Sauce was starved for modded content. After doing damageless, Adorn set his sights on a new challenge, which was no WASD Level 0 Eigong. This was basically a much longer version of the fight where you had to aerial parry to change directions. Adorn ended up completing this challenge. Inspired, I wanted to try my hand at this challenge too. When attempting runs, I figured out a major time save that would drastically shorten the fight length. It was possible to talisman through one of the sword attacks without taking any damage. Eigong does this attack so much, and it's not hard to perform at all, it was basically free time save. And this just wasn't time save for no WASD. This was time save for almost all Level 0 Eigong related challenges. One more challenge I want to mention quickly, which is actually crazy, is parryless Level 0. Yes, that is actually possible. This challenge was only ever beaten by 2 players, which was Twef and Classy. I'm not very knowledgeable in this challenge, but just know a lot of the dashes are tight, and especially with Windblade. Even more impressive, they both went on to do this challenge damageless. Remember when I said my first Level 0 clear that I was playing passive? Well, that was because there was a strategy I decided not to do because I thought it was way too risky. I wanted to implement it into a new different type of challenge, which is Level 0 Eigong speed kills. You might think, why would you speedrun such a long and boring fight? Well, I thought it'd be a fun challenge to optimize a fight and make it into a non-boring one. Anyway, the strategy was called Swag Slashes. I figured out you could slash Eigong right before every single melee attack for more damage. This saved a lot of time. The biggest reason level 0 Eigong took so long was how little you could get damage in, but this strat changed that. My first speed kill I saved over a minute. I'm not going to go over every little optimization or this video would take like an hour, but over time I kept hacking down my time. My second speed kill saved 2.5 minutes, which is basically just from playing even more aggressively. Then I got the runtime to 12 minutes, 11 minutes, and then just under 11 minutes, and then finally under 10 minutes. A whole 10 minutes saved from the first ever clear of level 0 Eigong. At this point, just playing more aggressively wasn't enough to save time. I would need to think of new strategies. This is where Runner Adorn comes in. He had swooped in and taken the level 0 Eigong speedrun world record. Adorn found an insane time save for the third phase. After any judgment cut instead of talismaning, to avoid quickfoot or unsheath, Adorn figured out he could still talisman quickfoot in time before a spike happened. If it was unsheath, you could still talisman, but you would need to cancel it or you would get hit. I was determined to not let Adorn have the world record. 3 days later I took the world record back with the new judgment cut strat and a new main strategy I implemented, which was fire tanking. See, whenever Eigong places fire, you have to wait for her to move away if you don't want to take any fire damage. But with 2 heals, I decided it was worth it to take the extra damage. But Adorn was determined as well. A few days later he was able to take back the world record by 10 seconds. But he didn't have the world record for long, as I took it back a few hours later, saving only 1 second. Adorn didn't let me have world record for long either, taking it back the next day at midnight for me. When I saw that he had taken the world record, I got out of my bed and took the world record back 2 hours later. It was the first sub 9, and this would be the last time Adorn got world record. I kept lowering my time too fast, and eventually I got a sub 8 run, and Adorn officially retired from level 0 Eigong speed kills. It was a respectable battle. I think back then me and Adorn were on the same skill level, and it could have gone either way. It's just that my sleep schedule was absolutely horrible. Into 2025 I kept lowering the time slowly but surely. There were multiple times I thought I had hit the limit, but there were always more small optimizations. A lot of the mini strats were also found by another great Nine Souls player called Gregorio. Sorry if I said that wrong. Then eventually sub 7 level 0 Eigong seemed like it was possible. I told myself sub 7 would be my last level 0 PB before I quit. Then eventually, after a lot of grinding, I got sub 7. The run was starting to get exhausting, and another player called Classy started running and aiming for the world record. I didn't want to get into another speed kill race due to the fucked up sleep schedule it could cause, and in race runs like these I often feel this weird anxiety if I'm literally doing anything else but grinding to lower my time, so I stopped. Classy, which is highly regarded as the best Nine Souls challenge runner, went on to get world record and kept cutting the time down with new strats, and eventually the final level 0 run happened, which clocked in at 6 minutes and 31 seconds. I don't even need to say how absolutely crazy that time is. I think the biggest time save was from phase 1 AI manipulation, new phase 1 strats, and a new phase 3 strat, as far as I could tell. I thought level 0 Eigong speedruns had hit the limit multiple times, but yet it was never the limit. It just shows you what humans can do if they're determined. What if I told you challenge runs get even crazier from here? Remember Kaito? Created another boss challenge, but this time it wasn't just some made up challenge. It was his own modded boss, Promised Eigong. It was a mod designed for players that were already talented at Eigong. It added new mechanics, new attacks, and it has a base speed increase. The boss is designed incredibly well, and just the base mod was already harder than level 0 Eigong. The community quickly mastered the boss, and then some crazy individual started considering if it was possible to do level 0. Level 0 Promised Eigong would be an extreme test of patience, endurance, focus, and knowledge of the boss. And just like level 0 Eigong, the challenge was really long, and could possibly take up to 20 minutes. Nebula was the first person to actually consider doing this. Nebula was doing attempts using 5 times damage boost, and eventually got a clear doing so. The run was kind of lucky though. The way he was playing would never work in a full run because of how he was parrying phase 3 cross-up judgment cuts. After this move, Eigong has a chance of going straight into a Crimson down slash, which will most likely kill you. Nebula eventually stopped trying to clear the challenge. Adorn needs no introduction, as he was the next one to begin attempting the challenge. He didn't use any damage boosts, he wanted a legit clear. A lot of strategies were used to dodge the attacks and get extra damage. Let me explain some of them. In this attack, which is called Death Combo, you dash jump through the attack and talisman at the top of Eigong to get an extra talisman in, while also avoiding the last attack. You can also get a full talisman on Geyser if you're high enough. Another thing that was necessary was that you needed to stay really close to the boss at all times, or Eigong could unleash a quick ball instantly and kill you. The best way to dodge it was to talisman the ball or just dash jump through it, and in phase 1 and phase 2 you could still talisman through this sword attack. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get into the run. Phase 1 is the simplest and easiest out of all the phases. It has the most damage opportunities, the least attacks, and the phase is more of a patience check than anything else. The whole phase would typically take 2 to 3 minutes depending on the playstyle. Phase 2 is where the real difficulty spike begins and introduces a massive learning curve. Death Combo and Cross Up can string into Geyser. Windblade can fake out and turn into a quick ball, and Talisman can fake out and turn into a quick ball. The phase has the most HP out of all the phases, and it could take around 5 minutes to clear depending on the playstyle, but phase 2 is nothing compared to phase 3. Phase 3 is where the real challenge begins. It doesn't have the most health, but it would purely take longer because of how much less attack opportunities there are. Talisman and Cross Up doesn't work in this phase either because Eigong adds judgment cuts after the attack. Adorn had to instead do swag slashes on this as an alternative. Eigong obviously becomes much harder this phase 2. Spike has a judgment cut added to it, forcing a well-timed dash through it or death is inevitable. The good thing was that the strategy Adorn found when doing level 0 Eigong speed kills, which we just call fast cycle, still works. The boss was extremely hard, losing your train of thought for a second could get you killed and send you straight back to the start. If the boss was one thing, it was fair. If death occurred, it was likely the fault of the player. All that was needed was execution, and finally on the 24th of July 2025, Adorn, after 30 hours of attempts, he finally was the first to clear level 0 promised Eigong. He drilled the muscle memory so hard into his playstyle after 30 hours of attempts, he even did the fight hitless without any fire damage. You get one-shotted by most of the hardest attacks in this challenge, so clearing level 0 Eigong means you couldn't really get hit much at all. This would be the only clear for a whole month until another notorious 9 Souls player, Classy, decided to attempt the challenge. Classy was of course the level 0 Eigong speed kill world record holder, but surprisingly she played the most patient out of any clear, deciding not to go for cross-up swag slash, maybe because it was too little reward for the amount of risk. Instead, on Death Combo, Classy used a talisman and cancelled it for internal damage, but this only worked on Death Combo and would be irrelevant for anything else like cross-up judgment cuts. And finally, Classy would emerge victorious on the 31st of August 2025. Classy beat the challenge after a week and around 12 hours of playtime, which is actually pretty fast. Perhaps it was because of her skill and patient playstyle. The run was around 2 minutes slower than Adorn's, but maybe slow and steady wins the race. And what's even fucking crazier, a few months later Classy went on to complete level 0 Eigong damage list, which means not even one early parry happened, proving she had mastered the boss. The next clear was 2 months later, and was actually done by a newer challenge runner of the community, which was I'm So Blind. Despite being new, Blind had quickly risen up to be a top challenge runner with only around 200 to 300 hours of playtime. Anyway, Blind had a different playstyle than the others. He was more aggressive and dealt more consistent damage to the boss, while also getting slashes in where others didn't. Maybe he wanted the benefit by clearing the boss faster, which means there could be less time for mistakes to occur. After around 15 hours, Blind cleared the boss on the 8th of October 2025 and became the third person to beat level 0 promised Eigong, and cleared it around 3 minutes faster than the others. The next clear wouldn't happen until the start of 2026, and the next person that decided to do the challenge was actually me. I wouldn't say I added any newer strats, but I think my playstyle was that I would take less risks. I used a mix of strats from the previous clears. I copied Classy's strat of not swag slashing cross up at all and tally cancel and death combo. I would rarely attempt to talisman Geyser due to the risk of miscalculating my height and getting hit. I also didn't care about avoiding fire damage as much, as it did such little damage and I didn't want to risk getting hit trying to avoid it. And then on the 5th of January 2026, I was the 4th player to clear the boss. I cleared just under 17 minutes. I didn't take any direct hits, but I had a lot of fire damage. And as of right now, that was the last clear of level 0 Promised Eigong. 9 Souls finally had a boss challenge comparable to any Radiance. But it gets even more crazy. There was another mod that was released a little before Promised Eigong, and that was Eigong Prime created by Gregorio. Basically what Prime did was make it so Eigong can string into much more moves when going into another move, and it also increased the health of the boss a lot. Blind, Adorn and Classy, after clearing level 0 Promised Eigong, started to check if it was possible. Turns out it was, but it required an inhumane amount of dedication and willpower. The fight would not only be harder, but it was also 30 minutes long. The fight had more HP, and it killed most DPS strats that worked in level 0 Promised, such as Tally on Death Combo. The boss was way more unpredictable and constantly has reaction checks. Blind, Adorn and Classy were all attempting to clear the boss at the same time, but the first person to finally clear the boss after 6 weeks and 48 hours of playtime was Blind. Let's look at the run. Phase 1 is hard, but still the most simplest out of all the phases, but you can already see some of the unpredictability present. Phase 2 again has even more HP than before, and introduces more attacks, so you need to be even more focused. Phase 1 and 2 alone takes longer than Blind's 15-minute level 0 Promised Eigong clear. You also couldn't Talisman Quickball anymore, it was probably because of the unpredictability. Going into Phase 3, nerves start to set in. One mistake sets you around 17 minutes back. The true challenge truly begins. This phase you lose Fast Cycle as a strat and have to dash through Judgment Cups. That's all the details that I noticed, all that is left is just to pull the challenge off. On the 15th of November 2025, Blind became the first player to complete 9 Souls' hardest challenge run. It clocked in around 31 minutes. Truly an incredible feat, pushing 9 Souls combat to its limits. Classy was the next one to clear the insane challenge. After about 20 to 25 hours, she cleared the boss, but tragically her OBS messed up and the run wasn't recorded, so she simply just did it again. On the 19th of December the next day, Classy had cleared level 0 Promised Eigong Prime again. In terms of playstyle, I would say this time Classy played a little more aggressively than Blind, but both runs clocked in around the same time. After clearing level 0 Promised Eigong Damageless and level 0 Promised Eigong Prime, Classy had conquered 9 Souls and moved away from the game, leaving behind an incredible legacy. The last person to clear this monumental feat would be Adorn. On the 29th of December, Adorn cleared the challenge. Adorn cleared it almost 2 minutes faster than Blind and Classy, but in terms of playstyle, I couldn't really tell a difference. There might have been something I could have just missed, but right now I just assume it could be just because of RNG or Adorn just played more consistently. These 3 players proved that they had achieved full mastery of 9 Souls. And that's that. Currently level 0 Promised Eigong Prime is 9 Souls' hardest level 0 challenge. 9 Souls truly is an incredible game, and I'm amazed with what the community has done even with it being so small. If you haven't, I extremely recommend playing 9 Souls. It has the most satisfying combat of any game I've ever played. Trust me, you won't be let down.